Hey, what is shaking, everyone? Today is all about chords. Have you ever wondered why some chords are major, some chords are minor, and how they are all connected to the major scale? Now today we're going to do a deep dive on chord construction, but don't worry, I'm going to keep it very simple and very practical. So by the end of this, you'll understand exactly how chords are built, and you'll be able to figure out any chord in any key. So let's dive right into it. So almost everything in Western music starts with the major scale, and it's made up of 7 notes, and it follows this simple pattern: whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So to give you a quick example how this is laid out, let's take the key of C major, since it has no sharps or flats. It's all whole letter notes. So it's going to go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And that's our foundation. So let's play the C major scale up the entire neck so you can really see the whole step, half step pattern. Now, we start on the C note, right? And a half step would just be another fret up. Now a whole step is 2 frets up. So C, D. So now let's do the major scale pattern, the whole step, half step pattern. So it's going whole step, so C to D, another whole step, D to E, and then E to F, which is a half step, back to a whole step, F to G, and then G to A, because it's another whole step, and then we have another whole step, which is our B note, A to B, and then a half step, back to our C, which is our octave. So now how do we get our chords out of the scale and we make up the key? Now a chord is just when you stack multiple notes together. So if I start on the C note, I skip the D, and I land on the E note, the third note of the scale, then skip this F note, then land on the G note. That gives me a C, an E, and a G. And well, congratulations, that is a C chord. So what is the difference between a major chord and a minor chord? A major chord is built with a root, the major third, and the perfect fifth. C, E, G. Now, a minor chord is built with a root, a minor third, and a perfect fifth. So the only difference is that middle note, the third note. Now that major sounds very happy and very bright, and minor is that sound like of sadness and darker. And that's why the mood changes with those minor and major chords. There's your C major. Flattened third is a C minor. Now here's where it gets really cool in the scale of diatonic. If you take every note in the major scale and build a triad from it, you get a sequence of chords called the harmonized major scale. So let me run through the harmonized scale just so you can see it in the chord form just going up the neck. I'll just use simple triads. Your C major. Now the second note is D minor. We're going to move on to E minor, which is our third note. Now F major. We're going to go into a G major, which is our fifth note. Now we're up to an A, which is going to be minor again. Then we have a B diminished chord. Back to our C. So the reason why those chords exist in that key of C is because the chord family of C major, these chords are naturally found in the C major scale. And now they all work together because they're all built from the same 7 notes of the C major scale. So let's just run through the scale once more, and I'll show you how we can stack the triad. So we have the 1, 3, 5 is how we make up the chords. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So with that 1, 3, 5, that gives us a major sounding chord. So moving to the second note of the scale, which is the D note, and we're going to stack the thirds once more. So we have a 1, 2, 3. We're using the D note as the one note now, but we're still in the key of C. Moving on to the second position, so for using that as the one position, right? Just hypothetically speaking, we're going to stack the thirds once more. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can almost hear that minor sound right from it. Now, moving to the third note, what kind of tones does that give us? Which is an E note. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another minor sound. Now let's move to the fourth note, which is the F note. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which is a major chord. Now moving to the fifth note of the scale, that G note, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is a major chord. Now to the sixth note, so we have 1, which is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is a minor sound, which is the sixth position. And then last but not least, we're going to move to our seventh note, which is the B note. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is our diminished chord, a B diminished chord. And then ultimately back to the C, which is our octave. Now I know this seems a little tedious, a little boring because it's a little theory-ish, but this pattern works in every major key now. And the formula is always major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, then it repeats. Or in a lot of circumstances, it's done in Roman numerals, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1. And once you've memorized that pattern, you can play that same pattern in every key and everything applies the same. So if we wanted to play in G major, for example, the one chord being the root, we start on the one note, the G note, that would be a major chord. We know from that from the pattern. So one chord is G major. We're going to move to the second chord, which would be the A minor. The third chord is also a minor, B. Now we're going to move to the fourth chord, which we know is major, so it's a C major. Five chord is also a major, D major. Now we're going to move to a minor chord because we know that the 6 is E minor. And then the seventh chord is the diminished, which is F sharp diminished on the scale. And then we know we can go back to our G major. Now, once you memorize that formula, that unlocks the chords to every single key. And playing diatonically, you can play that up the entire neck, whatever key you're in. So why is it important to know that the numbers and the letters can kind of correlate together? Well, a lot of times people will say, play a 1-4-5 or a 1-4-5-2, for example. So if somebody says, hey, we're playing in the key of G, play a 1-4-5-2 in the key of G. It would sound something like this. We're going to start with the one chord, which is the G major. Now we know it's a 4 chord, which is major. 5 chord, which is a major. Then they said a 2 chord, right? So we'll go minor chord. So let's just play that once more so you can kind of just hear it. If somebody said, play a 1-4-5-2 progression in the key of G. So now you can kind of see why this matters. You know, it explains why songs use the chords they do and what keys that the artist decides to use it in. It helps you write your own chord progressions in whatever key you decide, and it's the foundation in understanding how scales, chords, and keys all fit together. For example, if you know the song is in the key of C major, you already know the chords is most likely going to use C, F, G, A minor, D minor, and E minor. And that's almost every pop song and rock song that's ever been written. So now here's a quick exercise. Pick a key, write out the major scale, then build the chords from it using this same formula. Strum through them and then listen to how they sound together. Try this in the C major key. Then try it in G major. And then try it in D major. Then your ears will naturally start to recognize the pattern, and that's the key of playing by ear with music. Now I know I mentioned it throughout the video, and you've probably noticed that one odd chord called the diminished chord. Now in C, those notes are B, D, and F, and it sounds kind of tense and unstable, and that's kind of on purpose with the key. That diminished chord actually creates that pullback to the root, the one chord of the key, giving the music a sense of resolution. So for example, I'll just play the B diminished chord. You can see how it wants to resolve back to C. So let's just start at the sixth chord, which is A minor. B diminished. And that's what makes the diatonic scale so beautiful. So, I know this was a long, drawn out video, but it's good knowledge to have. So let's just recap real quickly. Chords come from stacking notes of the major scale. Now, that formula will always stay the same no matter what key you're in the major scale. So, major minor, minor major, major minor diminished. That's why songs in a key share a common family of chords. And understanding this will make you a smarter guitarist, a better songwriter, and a very confident player. Now, in the next video, I want to show you guys how to take some of this knowledge and start building cool chord progressions that sound amazing, that you can do all sorts of fun stuff over and solo over. So, to everyone that's subscribed, thank you so much so far. It's helping out a small creator here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, shoot me a comment below, and we will catch you in the next video. Thanks again.